This is the DJI Mavic 4 Pro, and it's been out for a few months now. And I've had the chance to take it on a few TV shows and doc projects to really put it through its paces. And I gotta tell you, it's probably the first Mavic series drone that can actually garner the word pro in its title. It's the first Mavic series drone, I'd say, that has features that actually help you while you're on a doc project, TV show, or a branded film that you might be shooting. These are the 10 underrated features of the Mavic 4 Pro that make it live right alongside your A camera on any one of those projects. Now, it's been a while since I've purchased a new drone, and I know that some of the other more recent drones from DJI, well, they've also got this feature, but it's one that I missed on the Mavic 2 Pro and the Air 2S. And that's just custom file and folder naming. Because if you work on multi-day projects, it's so important to keep a file naming structure that keeps you on track of what shots you have in the bag and on what day or location. And listen, if you've worked with any DITs or sent cards off to editors, you know what a nightmare it is when everything's named DJI underscore 001, 002, 003, so on and so forth. Because you're almost guaranteed to get a few calls in the middle of the night, kind of like, hey, what day was this shot on? A perfect example of this was a shoot that I was actually recently on, and it was the first shoot that I used the Mavic 4 Pro on. The DIT was able to breathe a sigh of relief when he was able to name the drone files to match the production's project code. I was only hired for one day, but the crew is still filming this show to this day. And that was almost 2 months ago, and we're almost in September. And knowing that they'll be able to go back and see exactly which drone shots I captured lets me move on to the next project, feeling like I left them with some great shots and an ease of finding them. So, I don't actually hate that DJI dropped ProRes and went with XAVC-I. It's definitely less bulky, works better across all NLEs, and since Sony FX6s and 9s are probably the most prevalent in the non-scripted world, it just works seamlessly on, well, it works seamlessly on most productions, and it's the same family of MXF containers, which makes ingesting smoother and matching footage a whole lot easier, especially in Resolve, which still doesn't really like ProRes. You actually have to send it out to another software and then back in to get it to work. And if you haven't guessed it yet, I'm a Sony shooter and I edit on Resolve. So with the Air 2S, I never wanted to shoot much past blue hour. Low light performance is really no longer a gamble with the DJI Mavic 4 Pro. It's got dual native ISO, which keeps things clean even when you're shooting in the early morning or as you dip into blue hour. It's subtle, but in post, you notice the difference. There's less grain, more latitude, and just a lot easier of time color grading, and it looks cleaner. In Rec 709, the dual native ISOs are 100 and 800, and when you go to D-Log, the native ISOs are 400 and 1600 ISO. Now, this was something that I didn't think I'd be so happy about, but as I'm getting more opportunities to work on non-scripted TV shows and larger projects that requires more eyes on what I'm shooting, the full-size HDMI gives the director or the client the opportunity to see what I'm filming without having to hang over my shoulder. That means there's no more sharing my screen or playing telephone mid-flight. It's a proper tool now for real-time creative collaboration, and it does make it a lot easier when you can have someone just kind of hanging over that side. I can be over here enjoying the screen real estate, not having to share it with that director or client, because then there's just less stress. This was another feature I really didn't think I'd miss that much, but waypoints. They're not new. They're around on my Mavic 2 Pro, which was the last drone that I owned that had the feature before I ended up selling that drone. I just didn't know how much I'd end up missing it. And for the last few years, I've been flying the Air 2S, which is now my backup drone, and it doesn't have this feature. But why did I miss it so much? Well, let me tell you. Through the pandemic, I shot a lot of commercial real estate videos. And if you're doing architecture, progress tracking, or integrating with CGI, like virtual building of buildings, the ability to run the exact same flight path multiple times is essential. And I did this on quite a few projects throughout the pandemic where we would just build these CGI buildings that kind of just I don't know, computer people would just build a building in my shot, which was really cool. With the Mavic 4, you can transfer footage while the drone is asleep and fold it. That means you don't have to power it on or unfold it mid-shoot just to pull out a card. USB-C it into your hard drive or laptop and it's good to go. It's just recognized as a good old hard drive. Little things like this keep the day flowing. That's all you can ask for. Now this next one, it's smart. The charging hub lets you transfer power from one battery to another. So let's say you've got 3 half-dead batteries. You can consolidate all of that juice into one battery, getting you a little more flight time. So here's how to activate it. You just place the batteries into the DJI charging hub, short press, then long press the power button. It'll automatically transfer power from the lower charged batteries, stay with me, into the one with the most juice. It's perfect for field work when outlets are nowhere in sight, which is going to be happening. I'm going to fill you in on a trip that I have coming up soon in another video. So obviously the Mavic 4 Pro, you can rotate the camera. It can go vertical if you want. That's a cool feature. It's great. And it has that full vertical shooting mode. And that's great if all you're delivering for is social. But if you're shooting for both broadcast and web, like let's say you're doing a 16:9 YouTube cut and a vertical Instagram reel, vertical mode, it locks you in too tight. It also has a much smaller range on the tilt axis while filming in vertical mode. And so that's where frame guides come in. And again, this is not a new feature, but it's something that can be buried in the menus and most users will probably miss it. So you can shoot in standard 16:9 and overlay crop guides for 4:5, 9:16, or 1:1. So this is the first Mavic that I've used where I feel like 6K isn't just marketing fluff, it's actually usable in production. If you're shooting for a 4K delivery, that extra resolution gives you room to crop, reframe, or even stabilize without having to, sacrifice that detail. And on dock and branded shoots, I'll often shoot a little bit wider than needed. So, editors, they've got the room to punch in for a second angle. And if you're mixing aerials with ground cameras that also shoot in higher resolutions like the FX6 in 4K, oversampled from 6K, the files are still manageable compared to RAW or ProRes. So you get that flexibility without having to absolutely kill your storage budget. Now this was one that I really missed from my Mavic 2 Pro, and it might sound basic, but adjustable aperture. It's such a lifesaver when the light changes mid-flight because instead of having to change your ND mid-flight or, riding your shutter speed into odd motion blurs, you can roll the wheel and fine-tune your exposure. Because on documentary shoots, especially when the action's unpredictable, being able to go from an f2.8 for low light to an f8 for glare without landing, it keeps you shooting and keeps the day moving a lot faster. You don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, sorry guys, I gotta land the drone, change out the ND, bring it back up. It's not going to fly when you're on a high-paced documentary shoot. So here's the thing. The Mavic 4 Pro isn't just a spec bump. It's really closing the gap between the Mavic line and the Inspire 3. These low-key features are what take it from a solo YouTuber tool to a legit piece of gear that belongs in commercial and dock workflows. So let me know down in the comments below which of these features you found most useful, or if there's one that, hey, maybe I missed it and you think it should have made the list. Like and subscribe if you want more real-world camera breakdowns and production tips. And it's the first drone that has features that actually help when you're flying for a commercial shoot, dock work, or that branded film. So these are the 10 underrated tools that make the Mavic 4 Pro feel like it belongs right next to your A-cam. And this is Stella. Hi. I don't know if you know, but I was filming something here, kid.